What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we've got a killer guest back with us today, Karen Briscoe, the host of 5 Minute Success and author of the book by the same name, as well as a series of books. We're going to talk about the topic of one of them. We're going to talk about success with leads. We're also going to talk a little bit about what success means in general terms, because we got some good questions about that to get to in a second. Before I do, let's bring in the junior grandmaster himself, which is in the co-pilot seat in his box where he so belongs. Greg McDaniel, what's up today?
Orderly Johnson face. Dude, it's a beautiful Friday. I am excited about it. It is going to be a great weekend. Have round 2, our second show on KGO Radio, 810 Talk, that we're going to be rolling out, talking about everything that's going to be how to get your offer accepted. So we're really excited. My co-host Tiffany on that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Talking directly to the consumers. That's going to be a ton of fun. And then they get to go drink beer with a smoking hot chick at a beer fest all Saturday. So my weekend's going to be pretty epic. I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited about it. So
thank you for sharing
you're welcome.
Your weekend plans with us, Greg.
You're
we
welcome.
Appreciate it. I always want to keep my finger on the pulse of what girl you're dating
See?
today.
I just did that publicly.
The girl du jour. Exactly. Okay. So with that being said, Karen, let's bring you in officially. Karen Briscoe, how are you today?
Hey, awesome to be with you guys today, and just the idea that we're going to be batting around about success and talking about success and leads, and that's a powerful topic in itself.
That's right. And we've got, I know you have a lot to share, and Greg, you have many valuable questions to ask before you shut up and let Karen talk.
I was going to wait to see how you're going to spin this to make me look like a jerk.
I know. I can't just straight up compliment you. That's just not right. That's not what the audience showed up for.
Well, it's in our contract as well. You can never agree with me on air, so that's just, you're following the contractual agreement.
Exactly. All right, so Karen, for those that didn't catch your last episode of the show, which everybody should go check out at reuncensored.com or on iTunes, if they didn't catch that, refresh their memory or kind of catch them up where you're at, who you are, and what you do.
So I am in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Yes, that's the inside the Beltway for you folks that don't know the geography. And in the Northern Virginia, inside the Beltway, which is across the river, the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. Been a residential agent since for 16 years. Did commercial prior to that. Have a whole story about that if you want to know how I got out of commercial into residential. And a couple of years ago, came out with my first book, as you know, Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, and met with great success, featured on Inman's top book read for 2017. And that led to podcast, 5 Minute Success, and then most recently, the Commit to Get Leads 66-Day Challenge, and we have some online courses coming. So it's all the topic of success that you wanted to talk about today is something that is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, love it. And that's where we want to start. I know Gene is going to pop in here in a second. And guys, if you're watching us live, which, for example, Michael Higdon, past guest of the show, popped in. What is going on, Michael, out there in Louisville, Kentucky? Guys, let us know where you're at. Make sure to kind of pop that right into the Facebook comments so we can all keep you in mind for referrals. But I wanted to start off with a question from Nick. This is in the Lead Gen Scripts and Objections Facebook group. And his question is, how would you define success? And Karen, since you are the official host of the 5 Minute Success podcast, what does success mean to you?
So in real estate language, we talk about real estate being at its highest and best use. And that is where it's achieving its value it was intended to do. All real estate could be a dump. It could also be a park or a school or a church or a home or some sort of more commercial usage that gives services to people. So it has lots of potential, but how is it at its highest and best? That's what you want to do with your real estate. So I say the same thing about life. So when you're operating at your highest and best self, then that is achieving success for you, because each person has unique attributes. And I think it's life and business. I think business, being an entrepreneur and sales endeavors, that the opportunity is unlimited. There's so much potential, and it funds a great life. I just came back from hiking Machu Picchu with my son, did the Inca Trail hike, and that to me was like, okay, this is a pinnacle of achieving the life that living the life I love right now while I also create the life of my dreams. That to me is success.
Really good. Greg,
Yeah.
just turn to you. What do you think?
I have to follow that?
Yeah,
Wow.
you have to follow that.
Yeah,
'Cause
what about have
I'm
you
gonna
hiked
let
lately?
I'm gonna let you
God.
move that bar nice and low, and then I'll talk.
Oh, shut your pie
I don't
hole.
want to follow that. Come on.
So, one of the things that the way I view success is happiness and freedom. When I truly look at being successful, I look at people that are ecstatic about what they do on a daily basis, and then they go and they compound it, and then they share it, and then they become masters of it. I think that is true success. When you can wake up and do something in your sleep, and you don't have to get paid to do it, and you want to do it even more, that's success. For people that are looking to do it in the real estate realm, I believe success is whatever adds something onto your life. So if success is being a top agent in your marketplace and absolutely crushing everybody because you have an ego the size of Matt's, then it will.
Thank you for that.
Only if you have an ego the size of Matt's, though.
Yes.
Anybody lesser than Matt.
All joking aside, if you have a massive ego and you just got to be number one, alpha male or alpha female, whatever, then that's one thing. If your version of success is help putting your daughter or son through college and helping your husband so he doesn't have to work 100 hours a week. If you have a travel bug and you want to pay for the family to go see Europe, next summer, and it's going to cost $50,000, and that's what you're going to make. I mean, that's true success. Working with the people that you want to work with. I'm not a huge fan of sellers. They're entitled. I don't really like them. I love buyers. It's like an adventure for me, right? And so for me, working with more and more buyers is exciting because I get to run around with them and go be outside and go see new houses and new adventures and everything else. So that's a success to me. So it's a moving target on a consistent basis. There's absolutely no way one person can define success, over the whole spectrum of what life, gives you. So I think it's very much a one-on-one experience.
Okay. So I'll throw out my definition, then I want to throw it back to Karen and talk a little bit about something that she said and go deeper, because there's something that was really, really good that I struggle with that I want to talk a little bit about for a second. So when I think of success, I think of the ability to convert our ideas into reality. Right. So success is really whatever we define it to mean. And going back to the happiness, which is what I wanted to dig into, whatever we envision in our mind as creating those experiences of happiness, where like Maxwell Maltz says, happiness is the state where our thoughts are, relatively pleasant, right? The majority of our thoughts. And I think that success is our ability to take that vision, that picture that we create in our mind, and actually make it come alive in the real world. And what's interesting, Karen, that you said that I wanted to dive a little bit deeper on, because I struggle with this. I've struggled more with it in the past. I'm getting better. I'm way better at it now, which is being happy on the way to being successful. Mm-hmm. Because, man alive, when I was younger, that was a really hard thing. Somehow I got it into my head from my upbringing or wherever it came from that the only way to get to where I wanted to go, where I felt like I was a success, was to spur myself and drive myself there by being unhappy along the way, which was wildly counterproductive. So I'm curious, kind of, what is your take on how can we be happy and enjoy the journey along the way to getting to the place where we feel like we're a success?
Well, that affirmation actually comes from Hal Elrod in Miracle Morning fame, and that is to love the life you have while you create the life of your dreams. So it's a both and, it's not an or. So you love what you're doing now, be grateful for it, and find the elements of it that perhaps there's some things that don't feel like opportunities. They may feel like challenges, but at the same time, you can find the opportunity in it, and that it's the pursuit of it, because it's like any pursuit, it's not an arrival, it's a journey. And so if you live into that and you make that as part of your daily decision, then you will always be in a state of happiness, because everything you decide to do, you have chosen to do. And there's a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, which I just interviewed him for my podcast, The 5-Minute Success, and he talks about the difference between Einstein time and Newtonian time. So Newton said that, came from a scarcity perspective, that there's finite, not enough, time or resources. Einstein came from a philosophy of abundance, and he said that 1 minute spent on a hot stove is 1 minute too long, right? So if you're doing something you don't want to do, time takes forever and it doesn't pass, right? And so ask somebody to sit on a hot stove for an hour and see how they feel about that. But if they are with their beloved or they're doing something that empowers them or enriches them or makes them happy or they want to do, they're pursuing their dreams and visions for life, then time passes very rapidly, right? So the idea is to create more and more time where you're in that state of some people call it bliss, some people call it your genius, where if you're operating there, then time is just, you're creating the time, you're creating these experiences, and that's then how you create your own happiness, is because you're living into it.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of things that I like to do and enjoy doing, letting Gene talk, which Gene has just joined us, the evil bald ninja himself, the ultra successful. And Gene, I'm curious, what's your perspective on it? Because you hopped on after we asked the initial question. But the initial question is just, what does success mean, and how do you define it for yourself? How do you define success? Besides the Philadelphia Eagles returning and winning the Super Bowl, which does not count because that is not success for 99% of the Earth's population.
I'm glad you said it. I did not. And I wasn't gonna, so thank you for that freebie. I'm still trying to learn. I think we talked about this in a past episode. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. I mean, I think every day my success is different than the day before, and it's dependent on so many variables: my weight, my relationship with my wife, what I'm eating, what time I woke up, how the day before went, what's going on with my clients, what do I have scheduled. And for me, I struggle with it all the time, but I will tell you, Karen, this is wonderful because I think certain things happen in certain spaces for a reason, and I don't think that I didn't know who was going to be on the show today. I think this conversation is falling on ears that need it today. So I appreciate all of this, and I am listening intently, but I can tell you, for me, it just differs by the day, man. It really does. Sometimes it's just seeing Matt Johnson's handsome face. That's success to me on certain days. Other days.
Wow, you have a low bar.
Oh. Well, listen, if you have a low bar, you can't ever be upset, right?
That's the truth.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. If your version of happiness is waking up and seeing me on Facebook Live, you're going to be very happy 3 out of the 7 days a week.
No, there's replay. If I won, I can go back and review everything. It could be 7 days a week.
That is true. That's a good point. It's a fair point. All right. So let's let's shift to more of the leads conversation, because this is interesting, Karen. I mean, I would say in real estate, probably the thing that most agents, and we're not talking about team leaders necessarily who have spent the money to generate a lot of this, but the average agent on the street believes that probably the key reason that their business is not more successful, and the thing that keeps them from the happiness and the freedom that they want in their real estate business, is a lack of leads. Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment?
Oh, absolutely. Because when you have an abundance of leads, you have choices. I mean, we talked about this a little bit. I mean, you could cherry pick, you could refer, you could build a team, you could partner with someone, you could get staff. When you have an abundance of leads, and so there's this scarcity mentality that there's not enough leads out there, but leads are all around you all the time. It's just a matter of then the consulting and the conversion process. If you have that mindset, if you have the mindset that they're all around you and there's an abundance of leads, then that's where the paradigm shift takes place.
Yeah, and I love that. And Greg, I want you to jump in, because one of the most powerful questions that I ever heard a mentor ask, and he asked me, and I would hear him like in brainstorming and stuff like that, he would ask himself as like a thought provoker, just like stay on track. And the question is, what is constricting the flow? Which is really interesting, because it catches you off guard, and it's one of those things where it's like you realize, the reason the question works is because the question is based on the assumption of abundance. There's all kinds of leads, and there's all kinds of money in business. It's everywhere. What is the bottleneck between that we know is there and me? And what can we do to kind of open the bottleneck up, which I thought was really interesting. Greg, I want to have you jump in here and comment, because you've been very quiet, which is disturbing to me. And and you're still muted. I don't know why. Why are you muted?
I'm doing a courtesy to everyone's ears. I'm just shushing.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Are your cats fighting in the background or something? Yeah.
No.
But anyway, that's so. What's your take on it? Any good questions that you ask yourself about success?
I ask myself, where do I want to be? I use the Matthew McConaughey speech when he did the acceptance of, like, who he wants to be, where he wants to be, and he always talks about the three things he's always chasing, and the one that stuck with me the most is going to be the person in 10 years, who he's going to be in 10 years. He'll never catch it. He knows he'll never catch it, and I love that thought pattern, because no matter what you've achieved to today is pales in comparison to what you can be in tomorrow, the next week, next month, next year, 10 years, 5 years, whatever that time frame is going to be. But if you assert yourself into specific actions on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, you will make catastrophic strides forward or backwards. Really depends on which way you're stepping, and the habits that you pick up. So for me, for success is not to be the same person I was yesterday or today that I'm going to be tomorrow. Pick up something that I can learn, a new relationship I can build with someone. What are you mumbling? I'm just gonna always wear baseball hats and just piss you off from now on. See, I'm actually trying to.
Terrible.
It does not sound terrible. It sounds relaxing.
Hey, it is not. It has not gone unappreciated. Just FYI.
Well, I'm glad I can make your day there, Buttercup.
No, it's fantastic.
But I mean, for me, for success and everything, is constant personal growth. Like, so sitting here, we're talking with Karen. I wrote down The Big Leap, the book, to dive into that. I mean, I know nothing about this. I mean, hey, let's listen to a book. Let's listen to something new. I'm listening to a lot of stuff on copywriting and marketing. I'm constantly trying to learn about social media stuff. I'm always out there trying to, as you well know, Matt, I drive you nuts on this. I always try to change up my scripts when I'm doing scripting. You and I are going to be getting into a deeper relationship with a very well-known company and kicking around some of their products and really having a lot of fun with them. And it's just constantly growing and constantly getting out of your comfort zone, because no matter what, if you're staying in your comfort zone, there's progression and regression. And if you say you're in your comfort zone, you're in a regression, because everyone else is moving forward. And that never ceases to exist. So I don't want to ever be the person in the back of the bus. I want to be the person in the front of the bus driving it to wherever I want to go, and grabbing all my homies and going, jump on, peeps, let's go. We're going to Coolville, and I want you guys to come hang with me.
Yeah.
That's my version of success.
I like it, and it goes back to choice. And Karen, that's one of the things you mentioned, is that such a big part of that, having that feeling of success, is a feeling of choice, that you have control over the types of clients that you're working with, what you're doing with them, and all that stuff. And the other thing that I like about what you're doing is really translating success, this kind of abstract thing, into, what can we do? What are the very tactical things that we can do on a daily basis? So let's dig into the nuts and bolts a little bit. So when you look at how an agent generates leads and how they can be more successful in 5 minutes a day, what are some of the things that you recommend? And we can start anywhere that you'd like to. I don't know if there's stock things that you recommend for everyone, or if everybody needs to customize it according to them. That's one of the questions that I'd love for you to dive into. But if you were to work with somebody one-on-one and your mission was just to help them spend 5 minutes a day to be more successful, what are some of the things that you would start with?
Well, so I think the first thing you can start with is yourself. I mean, you said that. I mean, what's stopping the flow? Well, the flow is being stopped by you, because as long as the excuses or the reasons or the justifications or whatever it is outside of you, it's the market, it's the leads my rainmaker's giving me, it's the buyers are crazy right now, the sellers aren't listening, as long as that's your script that's going on in your head, that's the talk you're saying, and you believe that, you've got to shut that down first, because it becomes a mindset again. If it's up to me, that it's up to me, and really, you're so right, Greg, is that the personal and business development comes out of personal, particularly if you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur. You are creating it as you go, and so the more you work on yourself. I used to think that spending time on myself, I was like taking away from the business, whatever. What I found is that when I am work on myself and I'm starting to achieve at a higher level, it raises all the other boats. So the beauty of the 5 minutes a day, or the reason why that came about, is so many people said they didn't have time. Greg, to your point, they're like, I don't have time to read a book. I don't have time to work on personal business development. I'm like, okay, do you have 5 minutes a day? Yeah. And studies have shown that that's what most people's attention spans are about this time, about now, is 5 minutes. But the thing is if you truly focus on it for 5 minutes, then it will plant these ideas and seeds and concepts and ideas that will then multiply later, because when you need it, if you focused on it and you've made it an integral part of your practice or your life or the way you live your life and run your business, then you will start seeing the impact on it. So the domino effect, if you will. So you hit that first domino, and then the rest of them fall into place. So the first thing is going to be your own mindset.
You know,
Absolutely.
one of the things that gets me a lot about this is the fact that when I was trying to, I call it life hacking. It's a very overused term, but that's what I do in my life consistently. I always try to find a way, like if I can't find time to read, or I can't find time to do something or rather, I say, okay, where can I trade time, right? And since our lives are always so crazy, I used to listen to a lot of music when I was like on the elliptical machine working out or something. Now I trade that time to listen to a podcast, to listen to a portion of a book. So I get 30 minutes right there of some sort of knowledge I can put in my head, 3 to 5 times a week on a consistent basis. And you know what I did for a while is that, whenever I wanted to, get a little exercise in, every time I was going to be on a phone call and I knew I was going to be on it for more than 5 minutes, I'd put it on my cell phone and I would put my earbuds in and I'd go for a walk around my complex until the call was over and then come on back. Small incremental changes have massive long-term effects in every aspect of your life. So if you think you can or cannot do something, you're right generally on that. And so when you say, you know what, I'm not good at this, well, congratulations, you're not good at it. But if you say, hey, look, I'm amazing, I'm epic, this is incredible, this is easy, I rule, and drop mic, walk out, well, then your mindset elevates and you're going to go out there with the assumption that you're going to kick ass, take names, wash, repeat, and do it again. And guess what? You might suck at it the first little while, but then you're going to get better at it, you're going to get better at it, you're going to get better at it, and then you're going to meet people that are going to get better at it. Then we get to hang out with Karen. I mean, this has been a long journey to be with you, Karen. We've been striving to be.
Same here. Let me tell you. We got some busy people here, some people that are operating at a high level. Yes, there's a quote actually. People do not decide their futures; they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. The idea is also to make this into habits, because that's where a lot of people in lead generation, business development, prospecting, whatever you want to call it, personal development, business development, they say they're going to do it when they feel like it or when they have time. Well, that's not going to happen. So you have to make the time. Back to the Einstein philosophy, you make the time. It's not like the time appears. You make it, and you make that a part of your life, and then you'll start to achieve at a higher level and receive the benefits.
Well, see, the funny thing about you talk about Einstein is that he was epically known for his long naps. So if you say you don't have time, but Edison would sit there, he would come up with a problem and be like, whew, I feel a little exhausted now. I'm going to go nighty-night time. He'll go take a nap. He'll let it mull over in his head. All of a sudden pop up and be like, eureka, I have the answer. So he found time to do two things. One of Matt's favorite things is take naps. He loves cats. And to solve problems.
Well, there you go. Well, Warren Buffett, I just read about Warren Buffett. He spends most of his time reading.
Yeah.
And so you're like going, okay, Warren Buffett, one of the richest billionaires in for quite some time, not just an overnight success or one-hit wonder. I mean, and he invests the time and makes the time for it. Again, it's back to, what you prioritize. The other day I had somebody say to me, oh, well, we couldn't do that because they were painting the offices. I'm like, there's always a painting the offices.
Yes.
There's always something, right? I mean, if you want to find a reason, excuse, whatever you want to call it, you'll find it. If you want to find a way to make it happen, you'll figure that out too.
Well, that goes, have you ever read 1 Minute Millionaire?
Yes.
That's a perfect book example for if you have to make something happen, kill or die for this to happen, go read the book 1 Minute Millionaire, and you'll see what this woman does in 90 days. It's an amazing feat that she accomplished. Now, it's fictional, I get it, but it's still pretty awesome.
Well,
it's
thanks for the spoiler alert, Greg.
Small incremental change, yeah.
It's just a book.
Well, yeah, again, the funny thing about small incremental change is that we a lot of times don't have the patience for it, but that's actually the change that sticks around the longest. And I think usually ends up having the most long-lasting effect on our life are those types of changes. I think the massive, all-at-once, radical, extreme changes, a lot of times, like they can work some of the time. And if we can ingrain the habit while we're in that like high emotional state, like, sometimes we need that to kind of shake ourselves out of our bad habits. But like you said, most of the time it's those small incremental things, and then we stack. and stack and stack and stack. And that's actually what changes things. So I love that approach. To bring it down to leads, if you had the average agent, so the average listener to Real Estate Uncensored, the average listener to 5 Minute Success, if you get a hold of them and you have 5 minutes a day to grow their business and they'll do whatever you tell them to do, what do you think is the highest investment, highest and best use of that 5 minutes a day?
I would say tracking, because I find that most people think they're doing more than they're doing, and they're actually not really doing it. Because
I can tell you that 100% for sure. At least
you start tracking it. Yeah, it's just like, if you're working out, I'm actually training for a sprint triathlon coming up, and I've been tracking it, and that's what gets measured improves. So first you have to start tracking it so you know what they are doing, because what you're probably going to find out is they're not doing enough.
Yeah. Tracking. Go ahead, Matt.
Similar to the minutes that Gene has talked on this show.
Yes.
I feel like,
Really?
yeah, I've been tracking it, and it's not enough.
No, we're sub. We're sub. And Gene, you're muted as usual. But I mean, it does come down to like tracking. My father and I, the Grandmaster, me Papa T Diddy, it came up with a tracking sheet which Matt saw, and it is very intuitive. I mean, we break it down to the minute of what your value and worth is when you're out prospecting. So when someone says, "Oh, that door knocking, or that calling, or that whatever doesn't work anymore," you can be like, "Look, bitch. Right here, I'm worth X amount of dollars because of the X amount of time with the X amount of percentage of conversion. This is my future income. What's yours, future Walmart greeter?"
Well, we all decide our futures, is all I can say, right?
Yeah, that's really good. I love that, because it's tracking is one of those things where installing that habit doesn't take that much time. I mean, it literally could take 5 minutes or less a day to simply do nothing but just write down what we did and track a couple of things. But yeah, the act of tracking it, even though it takes only a couple minutes a day, will affect our behavior throughout the whole rest of the day. So it's one of those super highly leveraged activities. So that's not the answer I was expecting, but I love that answer more than the one I thought you would give, which was, something tactical. I was expecting personal messages and phone calls to your sphere of influence. To me, that's the highest and best use in in terms of pure lead generation for an agent or a salesperson. Contact the people who already know, like, and trust you, stay in touch with those people, and work them further down the funnel. But tracking, that's a way better answer.
Well, absolutely. But you see, they should be doing that. And what they tell me is, it's kind of like people who say they're on a diet or exercise program, and they're lying to you because they're still fat and not fit, and they're not hiking Machu Picchu, Punta Montana, I'm telling you, because it's the ultimate stairmaster. So, right? You don't have to really ask, but you need them to have some revelation. That's the word I'm looking for. They need to figure it out themselves. And so you take, okay, you should track it. I want to see, give me names. Let's start writing them down. And, I didn't get a hold of that person. I meant to call that person, but I got distracted doing this or that squirrel shiny object thing. And you'll find out they aren't really doing it.
Yeah.
So then you could have a nice accountability loop, bring them back to reality and say, okay, I want to start seeing names. I want you to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to start tracking this. And then I would say the next thing would be, okay, find out where the success is, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Darren Hardy.
He was a beginning. Did my audio just totally go out?
Yeah. Yeah, your microphone switched off or something like that. So.
All right.
Now there we go.
There we go. God is with us again, and not me, just the microphone. But you can see both Karen and Gene just laughing, chuckling.
Yeah, right.
And Matt's just shaking his head. But no, seriously. So Darren Hardy, when he was back in real estate, he up here in Northern California, Alameda County, which is my neighboring county. He was young and dumb, and he was made a ton of money, and he was spending a ton of money. He went into his CPA and goes, "Here I am. What are your other two choices? Or other two wishes in life?" And the CPA goes, "You're an idiot. You're making way too much money. You're spending way too much money. And here's your new tax bill." And Darren's like, "Whoa, what the blah, 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 blah happened here?" And the CPA gave him a really good piece of advice. He gave him a much smaller notebook than this and a pen that says, "I want you to track every single thing that you spend your money on. Piece of gum, breakfast, a new charger, a phone, parking meters, anything you spend, track it." He said within 2 or 3 days, he was astonished at how much money was just flowing out of his bank account on just irrelevant, little, small, stupid things. And he just put the kibosh on that immediately, but it's because of the tracking ability. You don't know where you're going in life.
Right.
Track your leads, track your closing abilities, track your appointments, track your spending, track how many times you've told your wife or your husband that you love them and you gave them a kiss. Track how many times you've walked your son or daughter to school and asked about what they're interested in, instead of just tolerating the existence of the small human next to you. I mean, there's all these different things. If you just become aware of it, then you'll find the problem. Then you can solve the problem. But if you don't know there's a problem, you'll never go back and solve it. And I'm working with one of the clients with that right now.
Since we're learning, like we're talking about tracking and stuff like that, I'm curious, bouncing it back to you, Karen. What do you like to track, or what are you mentioned you're tracking like physical exercise because you're getting ready for a triathlon. What are other sorts of things do you track?
Well, on the business side, I track lead generation contacts, which I predominantly work my sphere. I don't pay for leads. And I have been doing that for 16 years in the podcasting. I track the number of people I contact about podcasting. Interestingly enough, I set myself a challenge to get 100 Amazon reviews. And so you say, okay, well, how hard could that be? Well, Amazon giveth and Amazon taketh away. They have lots of rules about their reviews.
Yes, they do.
And I got reviews that they took down. And I was like I'm going up, and then I go back down again. This is really frustrating. But my book wanted that for its second birthday, and I was committed. So you know what I did? I did triple time. So if it takes 10 people contact to get one valid Amazon review, I went, triple timed it. And so I track that. There's some great apps for this stuff. I mean, guys, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, or you can just do it the old-fashioned way and get a piece of paper and write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I take a paper calendar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very low tech, but it works. And because what you measure, then you can improve on.
Yeah. Our friend Veronica Jones on the show is like, she's schooling us on the 5 minutes a day.
Well, you're creating the life of your dreams, so you're assuming that you want to do these things. Right?
Exactly. I mean,
chosen that you want to be in a sprint triathlon, or chosen that you want to have, a book on Amazon that rates highly. I mean, you make these decisions yourself. So the only person you're hurting is yourself if you don't do it.
Yeah. I made a decision that I wanted to have a radio show on the largest radio station in all of Northern California. It even reaches all the way down to Matt. So if he would be kind enough to tune into the radio show and listen to me on Sunday mornings, but he will never do that. He'll see like 7:55, like, yeah,
I'm busy Sunday morning. I don't know which Sunday morning it is, but I'm busy that morning.
Yeah, whatever it is, always busy, permanently busy. But I mean, I had a goal to go towards that, and I went towards it, and I succeeded in it. And it's amazing when you set a goal and intention out there, and you just kind of track your relationships. Because I go back to how that came to be. It's totally baffling. I mean, there's absolutely no way in hell that this would have ever really come to fruition if it hadn't stayed top of mind as a goal I wanted to go towards. Well, Gene, if you'd ever talk, you bald ninja, start saying something.
No, listen. Sometimes I'm learning. You know what I mean? Like I'm just
really.
Sometimes,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm always learning, right? But sometimes I'm more quiet because I'm consuming, and this has been good stuff for me. I guess my question that I was going to have for Karen, and she sort of answered it, but for us people that don't really like the old school stuff, are there any good tips, tricks, / tools that you can use to do some tracking? Like, so for me right now, I can already tell you my first thing's going to be, right, I'm in social media management, and I can only imagine how much time I spend on Facebook, and watch me if you're watching, working and doing research, right? And a lot of that research and working has to do with goofy videos of cats and other things that are, right? So if I was tracking
first of all,
online
stop following Greg on Facebook. That's step number one.
That'll help.
I'm sure Scratch a lot to you, buddy. I'm sure Scratch a lot.
But I think if I watched that, I would probably get 6 to 12 hours back a week. So I'm curious if you across in your time in this, if you've found any tools, tips, tricks, things that people can employ right now that'll make their lives a little easier. Because I know that would be difficult for me. As easy as it sounds, it would be very difficult for me.
So there's amazing apps for all of this stuff. I mean, one is Commit 3, where you could pick 3 commitments per day, and then it'll send you an alert at the end of the day, and you could say whether you did them or whether you didn't do them. There's all sorts of apps for tracking, obviously, exercise and those kind of things. I think that sometimes people they put their focus in the wrong place, and they're focusing on the tool or the process instead of on actually doing it, because again, it's back to diet and exercise. It really only works if you do it. So it's more a matter of making that commitment and decision to doing it. And then if you're old school, use a piece of paper. If you're a techie, then figure out there's great apps out there for it.
No.
Yeah,
and if not, we need to create one.
So, Gene, actually, I'm using one right now. It's the QuickBooks Self-Employed app that I use. And this thing is amazing for real estate agents. It costs like $5 a month. And I can take photographs of all my receipts, type it in if it's personal or business. It'll log it in there. I can also track all my mileage. It just tracks. It goes by when you get in the car. It just tracks you, gives your deductions. So like, hey, you went from point A to point B, business or personal. I'm like, business, title it, save it, done. Then I can download all of this stuff to my CPA when it comes tax time, and it's all my write-offs. It's all trackable. But you also got to have a P&L built in there as well, because it's going to bring all your income versus all your business expenses versus everything else. So you're like, and for $5 a day, I mean, come on. That's an easy tracking thing right there. I was yelled at by my co-host on the radio show, Tiffany, who's 10 years younger than me. She's like, stop being an idiot, Greg. Track your miles. Do this, do that. I'm like, oh, God, I have like a younger mother. This is horrible.
Well, whatever works is all I got to say.
Exactly. Yeah. And Karen, I mean, I talk about this a lot, but when we say tracking and goal setting and success and everything like that, there's a way that you and I could give Matt and Gene a 95% chance of succeeding in everything that they do if they took one action that costs $0, and that was to write down your goals and then be accountable to them. Are you seeing that correlation with success in the lead gen and everything else? What kind of goals are you seeing with agents and everything else when they write them down? Are they sticking to them, or do they divert off? Because we're a strange breed.
So that's the research, and it's in this book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And it is the 66 days. So there's a lot of research on habit formation. But what this research talks about, and I've seen a lot of support for it, and that is the first 22 days, people are like evangelists, right? They're so pumped about their new, app or whatever, their new program. Just talk to anybody who started Whole30 or a Peloton, right? I mean, yeah. You can't get them to stop talking about it, right? So that's when you're an evangelist, you're excited about it. Then the next phase, the next 22 days, people are they go through this evaluation phase. They're like, really? I didn't really want to eat that every day. I really didn't want to ride that bicycle every day. I really didn't want to commit to lead generation every day. And so that is where you have to really power through the dip. I don't know if you remember Seth Godin's book, The Dip, but the idea is things that are going to give you what you want to achieve, the life of your dreams, right? Remember, you're creating the life of your dreams. It's not somebody else's vision, your dreams. You power through it. That's when you put in that extra, superpower pump or whatever it is you got to do. And you power through that 22 days, because the next 22 days, and this is why 66 days is powerful, you start to experience this virtuous cycle, the benefits of lead generation, eating healthy, riding your Peloton, whatever it is that you're committed to doing. That's when you start to see those benefits. And then you hit this point where they called auto something. But anyhow, the idea is it's like brushing your teeth or driving a car or whatever. You do it so automatically that automaticity, I think is what it's called. But anyhow, the idea is it becomes a habit. And when it's a habit, then you don't have to put this extra energy or think about it. And then it becomes part of your life. I would never think of not lead generating. I mean, I live to lead generate.
Yeah, love it. Very, very good. Greg, I think are you frozen? Greg might be frozen. What's going on there?
Oh, wow. No. It looks like he hasn't moved in a while. Oh, I see movement.
Mm-hmm. Right, there we go.
I think we...
Life.
Dropped out a little bit. Anyway.
Detection.
Yeah, and that's really, really good. There. Speaking of the 66 days, right? So I started using an app called Habit Bull, like bullhorn. And that's one of the things that it suggests. And every time you set a new habit to track, it actually has it specifically tracks how close you are to the 66 days it takes to ingrain that habit. And it tracks your streak and stuff like that. So it's a good, like the app literally reminds you of like how long it's going to take for that habit to be ingrained, which is really, really good reminder. Because yeah, it's the dip is the hardest part to get through. And I was just talking about this yesterday. I was reminded of something that my coach wrote in one of his articles. I had come across it months ago and it stuck with me. And the quote goes something like this. It was like that ancient Chinese proverb, right? Like in a journey of 100 miles, 90 miles is halfway. Like our perception of that last 10 miles of something, of 100, the last 10% is about half as hard as the whole thing. And so the closer we get to the finish line, it's like running a race, where the closer we get to the finish line, we're already experiencing the pain and the suffering of being in the race for that long, but we haven't crossed the finish line, so we don't have any of the rewards yet. We're not seeing any of the results. We don't have the happiness. We don't have the cheering on of the crowds, like all that stuff. And man, it's hard to keep in mind, but the more that we ingrain that habit of success and reminding ourselves of that fact, man, it really helped me yesterday, because I'm coming to the end of getting done with a particular course. And Karen, you know this, like building online courses is no joke. And it feels like every time you turn around, there's something else that you weren't aware that you have to build that now you have to build. And you know what I'm saying? Like it just never seems to end. And really what that is just we're learning something new. It's a new skill. So when I look at it's funny because when I look at launching a course and I look at all the things that go into it, like it can feel overwhelming, but then I'll flip over and I'll look at the exact same process for how we launch podcasts in my production company, and it doesn't feel that way. It's the exact same amount of work, but because I've done all those individual little pieces of launching a podcast, that doesn't feel overwhelming because I've done it all. And all it is, it's a weird mental thing. And so I had to remind myself and encourage myself yesterday that that's really all that comes down to. It's a 100-mile journey, and I'm at mile 90. It's going to feel like there's still a long way to go. There isn't really, but I'm suffering. I'm experiencing all the difficulty of the dip, and I haven't crossed the finish line yet. So hopefully that helps some people. It helped me yesterday, and keep working on the courses. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So going back to that, I ran a mile yesterday for time, and it's so
17,
funny.
18 minutes.
It was just sub 21.
Like Baywatch style?
Yeah, slow motion, and even in slower motion with the iPhone. But no, but it's interesting because I had a couple guys that ran the mile, and and it was about beating them. Yesterday was just about beating them, so I wanted to get it in and do it quick. And the last 1/10 of a mile was murderous. Like the first 3 quarters of it, I was smooth, I was gliding, everything felt great. I looked down at my GPS app as I was going through, and I'm saying 8. Just 0.8 left to go, or 0.08 left to go, and it lasted like 2.5 hours. It was brutal.
Yes.
But it's
7:43, by the way. It was
Nobody
totally
ever
worth it.
stops at the last, mile marker on a marathon.
That's right. Unless your lungs are exploding, which mine were close to yesterday.
Crash the bird.
Oh my God, there was like David Goggins was doing an interview with your buddy Matt. What's his name? The very, very big, huge podcast. Joe Rogan.
Yes, my good buddy Joe Rogan, who I hang out.
Your buddy, your pal. Yeah. We know you and your pothead.
Joe Rogan.
Pot cookies are Matt's version of yummy.
You really? Oh, okay. Are you getting him confused with Adam Carolla?
No, Joe Rogan.
Oh.
But he was interviewing David Goggins, and if you don't know who he is, go watch this interview. It's about almost a 2-hour interview. It is absolutely hands down one of the best, if not the best interview I've ever watched in my entire life. And David Goggins is a Navy SEAL. He's just he is the epitome
that's where I know the name.
Badass.
Yeah.
He was talking about he was doing this run, right? And he didn't really prep for it at all the right way. And what he did, he was I think it was at mile 70. Like his shins were busted. He was literally, well, forgive the graphic. If you watch it, he's taking a dump and it's going right up his back of his shorts. He's peeing blood. His body's like starting to shut down, right? And he just didn't give up because he knew he needed that success so epically bad that he would go through any pain, anything. And so he to make sure that he got there, he literally the last couple of miles he just sprinted this race. And that's what you call digging in for, going for your goals. If you truly want the success, you've got to be willing to take a shit up your back, piss blood, run with. He tapes his feet. He busted his feet so bad. He taped them so badly, so tightly to keep his legs from, not moving. He went through buds 3 times, and finally passed buds and became a Navy SEAL. But he was this disgusting blob of a human being who was working in the insect business of spraying for roaches, and he was like 300 pounds and all these things, right?
Wow.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, when it comes to success, right? If you really hunker down, you give yourself 0 excuses not to do it. I mean, to get your goal accomplished, you'll get anything accomplished you want. So go listen to that interview, Joe Rogan, David Goggins. It's about 2 hours. I've listened to it several times. It is fascinating to listen to, all the way down to the very last part of the interview. It is just astounding how impactful this interview can be if you really listen to what this guy is saying. And Gene is holding up a book that looks like.
Have you seen this?
No.
It's called Living with a Seal by Jesse Itzler.
Yes, his wife is the one who invented Spanx, right?
Yeah. But have you ever read this book?
No, but I heard about it a year ago, and I've been wanting to get my hands on that.
All right, so listen, I'm going to tell you right now. So send me your address. I'll ship it to you. So this is what it was Jesse Itzler saw this dude running this marathon and basically decided he was going to train himself, so he invites this SEAL to come in. This book, first of all, it's a quick read. You could do this in 3 days. It's awesome. It's funny as hell. It was released a year after the book came out that the SEAL he was talking about was David Goggins.
Oh,
so
it was?
He lived with David Goggins for
30
days, and that's what the book is about. That's where Goggins came out and, I think started to get all his fame. So it's called Living with a SEAL by Jesse Itzler. It's awesome.
That's funny. I didn't make the connection. I was listening to Mark Devine's podcast yesterday, Unbeatable Mind, and he mentioned David Goggins on that episode. And so there's actually an episode of Mark Devine's podcast with David Goggins that now I'm going to go listen to, and I didn't make the connection that it was the guy from Jesse Itzler's book. That's funny.
Yep.
All right. So we have now new things to go listen to.
Which I am
Karen,
buying right now.
Exactly. But Karen, you have a fantastic podcast that we should also go listen to. Where do people find you, connect with you, go grab the podcast, go grab the book, all that good stuff?
Oh my gosh, 5 Minute Success is the number 5, the podcast, the book, the online courses. Connect with me for other opportunities, masterminds, and do some coaching. And Facebook group, Instagram, all the places. I'm available at the number 5 Minute Success. We've had amazing guests, some of whom you know as well. So please do listen in, subscribe, rate, and review. You know how that works.
Right. Get the book. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating, which hopefully Amazon will keep up.
Yes. Well, we're at 110. So you see, talk about powering through. I decided to power through the 100 mark, and I ran past my goal and am at 110.
That's awesome. All right. And then, Gene, same question for you.
Gene.
Sorry, I couldn't get that mute button quick enough. You know my story, GeneVolpe.com.
Come on, bro. Do it right.
No, you do it. I want you to do it.
No, it's your company. You do it.
GeneVolpe.com. And listen. If you're in the Warrington,
waiting for.
If you're, that's why they tune in all week for that 13 seconds. Monday, I'm going to be in Warrington, giving a social media seminar with some of my mortgage friends. So if you're in the Warrington, PA area on Monday afternoon, there will be drinks, there will be happy hour, and there will be yours truly. So stop on by.
I know it well. I'll be in Warrington next Wednesday. No. Okay. Greg, how do people connect with you?
Super simple, guys. Just go to bookmcdaniel.com. Again, bookmcdaniel.com. If you're watching, it's right on your screen right there. If you're listening, this is where we're going to get together for 30 minutes, you guys, or a little bit more, depends on how the conversation goes. Let's talk about EXP. Let's talk about what we're building over there, kind of the crew, the crowd, the tribe that Matt and I are putting together. If you guys have been thinking about EXP, if you guys have been kind of considering, not just building, not just getting an income, but building wealth over a long term for yourself and for your family, dude, come on over. Check it out. I think you guys will really like what they have to offer. That's why Matt and I jumped. That's why just loads and loads and loads of people are jumping over. So if you're considering it, dude, come join our tribe. We would love to have you, and we'll have a lot of fun. You get a ton of free stuff and masterminds and products and free coaching and all kinds of stuff. So come on over. Go to bookmcdaniel.com. There you go. See?
Oh, I didn't know we were supposed to sing our .com.
I think no, that's a Gene thing. Greg is stealing it.
Yes,
we
I am.
want to make sure that Gene has the patent on that. So Greg, you're about to be you'll hear from Gene's lawyer, I'm sure.
Cease and
You need
desist.
to go lower.
.com.
Go low. Yeah,
I'm channeling Barry White. Hello, everybody. Go to bookmcdaniel.com.
All right. And speaking of reviews, guys, go to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review for this podcast as well. We did not have 110, which is a shame because we've been on the air for 3.5 freaking years. So let's get over that.
You need to power through that one.
No, exactly. So, guys, go leave a rating and review. Make sure to call out Karen specifically. Thank her for her time and for what she had to share. If there's been other guest episodes that you have appreciated as well, make sure to give them a public shout out when you leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. You can also grab the show on Stitcher. You can grab us on YouTube, or just go straight to the website, reuncensored.com. So, with all that being said, first of all, Karen, thank you so much. You're a gentlewoman and a scholar. We appreciate your time today.
And you all kept it kind of clean today.
We did. I know. We're all trying to get better at that. Not too many blips. And then Greg, I feel a robin's egg blue for the color of the bow that we're about to wrap around this particular show today. It's tied up in a nice little bow.
I am buying you a Crayola set, the extended version, and I better see colors on these shows if I'm going to invest money into you, buddy.
Okay.
We need colors. All right, Robin.
I feel like I've brought my color game the last few episodes.
You have. I've been very impressed with you. I was worried about you. I was going to see if Karen's going to need to sit down with you and do some coaching, but
yeah,
it's okay. You're out of your slump.
Good.
Guys, I love you. Matt loves you. Gene loves you. Karen loves you. We all want to see you guys, not just survive but thrive. So go, keep coming back, hanging out with us. We're going to keep bringing amazing people like Karen and Gene with amazing information. So until our next episode, guys, have a beautiful, blessed, incredible weekend. I love you. Peace out, ninjas. I'm gone.